Conscious awareness, I am. Conscious awareness, I am. Conscious awareness, I am. Om. Conscious awareness, I am. Conscious awareness, I am. Conscious awareness, I am. Om. Say this with me. Conscious awareness, I am. Conscious awareness, I am. Conscious awareness, I am. So we're back. What does that mean? It means that you're not your body. You know, you're 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 like when you're oh yeah, you kind of become awake every now and then, and usually that comes with a either a catastrophe, a trauma, or a bliss, right? And bliss comes from your brain. You are not your brain. This is just a squirrel cage with a Rolodex in it, right? And the squirrel, the crazy squirrel, is just your ego um, flipping through those little cards. And that's not a conscious, and that's not awareness, right? It's just ego, and you're not ego. Now you can be controlled by ego. You can be owned by ego, and thus things occur, right? And so, like 9/11 occurred. Did we even investigate? No, we said Jim over, right off the bat. I mean, 20 seconds after it happened, we blamed Al Qaeda and attacked Afghanistan. Right? Then we stayed there 20 years. Why did we stay there 20 years? When within the first 2 weeks we had driven the Taliban in, right? How come? How come we were there in a big way when the Russians were there, right? And we created the Taliban, and we created, Al Qaeda, and we created um, ISIS because we want war. The only thing America gives the world is war. Huh? You know, we celebrate Thanksgiving. The Pilgrims, and the Pilgrims would have died the first year, but the Indians came from where their camp was up on the hill, and they came down and they helped the Pilgrims out. They fed them, they nursed them, and took care of them. Right? Then the next year, they had a party, you know, and the Pilgrims saw what the Indians had. How Ronnie used the metaphor, the city up on the hill. Well, that was the Indian camp. That's what the captain of the Pilgrims said. They're living up on the city on the hill, the golden. We need to. And so they went up there after the first Thanksgiving, and they killed all the Indians. I mean, to the man, woman, and child. So that's the Pilgrims. That's America. When and the cancel culture. They want to. No one wants to talk about our history. Go read Howard Zinn. You know, there are a ton of people who are doing great work. Right. Go to um, my website. Griot Publishing. GROTTE Publishing. Blogspot.com. Let's see. Let's see what happens when we look at it here. See if I can bring it up. Oh, you know what? Let's go back to this. Griot Publishing. Okay. GROTTE Publishing.blog.com. No, no, see them. You know, how about X-rated? Oh, but XRATTED.blogspot.com. Oh, I didn't even get it. And that's how good Google is. It just tells you what it wants you to see. And so what is net neutrality? Net neutrality is when you, the user, control the internet, not Google or Facebook or Twitter or Microsoft, or Jeff Bezos. You have to be okay. And I miss you guys. Why doesn't anyone, become part of the conversation? So here's the question to you guys. What are you? Come on. Someone said, well, I'm a human. No, that's the species, right? Well, I'm a guy. That's the gender. Well, I'm a Christian, born again, nano, but neoconservative. No, that's an advertising slogan. What are you? Why were you put on this earth? Come on, let's hear something. Why, I'm having to have both sides of the conversation, which, I kind of don't care. Like my brothers and sisters, they're worse than the teenagers. They don't pick up on the phone at all. They, and my two of my sisters, they don't even, they have a phone number. And it doesn't even say what the phone number is. It doesn't, have a message. It doesn't have anything. It just, you dial it, it goes beep. The user of this, hasn't set up a voicemail. Yeah, well, I didn't do that on my phone until I realized I had to, but then I did. And I said, I love you. Here's some good news. I love you. Let's hear some good news from you. That's my message, right? And so, and I answer the phone if it rings, but I live out in the middle of the woods. I don't get any real phone signal, so that's the bottom line on that. So, um, again, what are you guys? Come on, let's hear what you are. There's two of you there, and so you two there. Um, do you know what you are? You're not your ugly bag of water. You're not your body. You're not even your brain. You know. So, what are you? Come on, let's hear it. Okay, I'll tell you a story. You like my stories. So, my my writing, basically, um, I read a lot. So James Joyce, he said, I am just a cut and paste man. Meaning he wrote stuff in his little books and they didn't have word processing, so he kind of cut it out and pasted it into another book. But he also would read. He was a voracious reader, and so he would read stuff and he would write it down. He'd like translate it into James Joyce, cut it out, and that's kind of what I do. So he goes, I'm you know, a guy who cuts and pastes, and I'm proud of it, and I steal everything I can. And what I really pride myself is that I only steal the best stuff. I don't quite steal things. I don't like take it out of a book and cut it out of the book and paste it into when I'm writing. No, I don't do that. But I read a lot and everything. And I listen to everything and I add that into my writing. Right. So. Wish I knew how to. I'm going to try to figure out how I can read the stuff I write on this laptop and read it to you. Right? So, You can try and go to xratted.blogspot.com. See how that works. Or Griot Publishing. How I spell it is GRIOTTE Publishing, and it's on .blogspot.com. So see if you can find that. Some people can, some people can. I mean, it's all magic with me. And what is magic? Magic is someone else's religion, like a good, or someone else's technology. And what's very interesting is that Star Trek: Next Generation, with Captain Picard and Riker and the gang. The first episode, they're just going over the boundary of their universe, going into unknown territories, and they bump into Q. Right now, they are a second wave. Like right now, Earth is first wave. I mean, we burn coal and oil, and we are basically not that much above cavemen. And then actually, the Neanderthal was a lot smarter than we were. And we are basically someone's science experiment. Right? Now, we do have a spirit. Right? And what is that spirit? This is spoiler. This is a heads up to what you are. So your spirit, right? But no, not really. I mean, that's just a part of what you are. That here's another spoiler. That is what we are ascending to become. So back in the day, Moses found out that he's not Pharaoh's family. He's just a hired gun. Everyone knew everyone they knew who his mother was, right? And he was brought up like a prince, educated really well, very smart. And but then he finds out he was found in a basket in the reed, so he kind of splits because everyone then finds out in the court, and he's not as top dog as. So I mean, he was always above. The Pharaoh loved Moses more than his own son Yul Brenner, right? And hear that crying? That is you guys. That's your infancy, because you don't even know who you are. You don't even you think your job is who you are. You think your car is who you are. You think your girlfriend is who you are. Oh, she's really hot. Hey, look at baby. And not really. That's not who you are. Right? So there's Moses. He's skipped town. He's gone. He's walked through the hills and this, and he comes upon a great wise man who's up in the mountains and kind of like me, and realized it's better than to have a sweet wife who I love and children, and I live up here and have goats, and he gets old, and so Moses likes one of his daughters, and like hooks up with her, and so he's like the son-in-law, and the old wise guy likes Moses, and is trying to help him out, and sees his potential. So go read about Moses in that time in the Bible. Quite good. And so he's up in the hills, looking at the stars. He's looking after the flock. And all of a sudden, this bright light comes. Ooh, wham! Ding! Burning bush. Burning bush starts talking to Moses. And he says, Moses, you've got to go back to Egypt. And you have to free the Israelites. Now, everyone in Hollywood thought that was you know, they had to have the Jews were being freed from Yul Brynner, but no, um, the freedom that the Burning Bush was talking about was, you know, the Jews in Egypt were not being whipped and lashed. No, they were the bankers, the jewelers, right? They held the bling. They, you know, bankrolled all of the Egyptian wars, right? And that's been what the Jews have done forever, because they're always on the roam. And the promised land isn't Israel, it's what's in here. And this, you know, Zionist motif of blood and land is kind of what the Nazis kept saying, right? So, and the Nazis weren't the political party was the National Socialists, not the Nazis. The Nazis are a mindset. And you can be any religion, any race, any gender, and be a Nazi. Right? Well, it's an illusion of power, and power doesn't exist. Yeah, because it's power is based on fear. So there you are. So I still want to know if you have any idea what you are. No? No one's watching. Everyone seems to come back later and watch, you know. That's okay. No? It'd be nice to have the cadre here and have a conversation, but no. Well, I'm going to leave you thinking about that, and I'll be right back. Oh, oh man. Stretch my legs.
I can go either way with him. Yeah.
So your restroom that way.
Yeah. Hey, hey, check my house.
You know, you need to put a sign saying, everybody kill
Like that. Ice coffee or a frappe?
Two things you can think about. Also, the other thing is the door. So who's winning? Who normally wins?
We've never played, I don't think we've ever played this before. We just thought, give it a try, huh?
Yeah. I used to play with my mother. I used to play all kinds of games with my mom. And she always had to win, so she didn't like, she would go like, Mom, you can't do that. So who, which of you has to win?
That don't matter.
No. Well, my mom,
She's competitive, huh?
beyond belief, like with a 5-year-old, you know. Anyway, I'm back. So, anyone got an idea what you are?
Not tomorrow.
So, back to the story. So, there's Moses up there. He's talking to a burning bush, and so the burning bush, you need to go back to Egypt and free the Hebrew nation, the Hebrew tribe. Wasn't a nation yet, Hebrew tribe. So Moses go, okay, and the burning bush says, and I will answer one of your questions without a flip answer. I'll give you the straight skinny. So Moses, smart guy, well educated, Mr. Psychologist, sounding kind of like someone, and they Moses realizes that the most important question is, and in Hebrew, what's your name? Kind of means who are you? What? No. Your name means what are you, right? So Moses goes, so what's your name? And in the movie, with Charlton Heston, the burning bush answers, I am who I am. And no, that's not what the burning bush said, because the only person who says that is Popeye. The burning bush is not Popeye. I like Popeye, I is who I is, see? I am who I am. So, the answer that the burning bush gave was, I am a work in progress, and you, meaning human race, are my reflection. And when he said you, he didn't really mean just the human race. It meant all our relations. It means the whole planet is um, the burning bushes. So the word God is irrelevant. It actually goes back to Sumerian. That means a petty demigod named Bachi, you know, and then he became Baal. And then in Sumerian went into Greek, became God, because the root for um, Baal is God, Gus. So so we are actually, when everyone, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God, all those, born agains, and anyone who has a fundamentalist religion, anyone, because religions are just a reflection of a cultural concept, right? So everyone who's going about God is basically, um, you know, um, bowing down to bocce ball. It'd be better to play the game, right? It's a lot of fun. You should go play bocce. So, what are you? Come on, I just told you 90% of what you are. What's that story? So, work in progress. We're the reflection of the burning bush. So, and all of my writings, I talk about the great maker as the burning bush. I don't say God. Right? And when I do talk about God, it's about a fickle um, demigod of the ego, Satan, right? The great, what greater, you know, 3-card Monte than to have Satan as the old guy up in the chair with a beard? Yes. So, what are you? Come on, come on. I gave you 90% of the story. What are you? What you are, I'm going to tell you right now. What you are, excuse me just a minute. Think about I'm back. So what are you? I'll tell you what you are. You are the decider. You navigate the work in progress. And that's why there's never going to be end of times, because we're all going to get to go home. But it's up to us to figure out how long it takes, because um, we are the reflection of the burning bush. We have sadness and ecstasy, and they're the same thing. They are a vehicle to learn from. They're not good or bad. There is no good or bad. That's one man's, burning books is another man's, sacred divinity of keeping things pure. So, but the worst part of it is when humanity lets it and navigates itself to its worst personal characteristics: selfishness, stupidity, fear, greed, and war is the worst of the definitives of this motif, right? Like we went into, we never, I was an apprentice electrician on the World Trade Center. So I was intimate with that building. Its exoskeleton is what held the building up, right? So case hardened steel, with 2-inch rebar in there, and pre-stressed concrete, and the floors were all attached to that. The floors were 4 foot thick of steel and concrete. Each floor was an acre big, and there were no columns. Hey, buddy, good to see you. Who's that Toto guy you keep talking about? Toto. Todd? Todd? Tood? This is Tood. I can't remember anything I say, so. So how you doing, buddy? It's good to see you. Buddy's one of the oldest of the cadre. And when Buddy showed up, he was almost a troll. And everyone, oh, you got to get rid of him. Blah, 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 blah. And this is in the beginning when I first started. And I had I would have 20, 30, 40 people on the live chat. And Buddy would just say things in a Buddy kind of way that I could see made sense. And and I said, no, no, this guy, he's okay. He's just, who he is. He's like Papa. I am who I am. So, um, and he's like the burning bush. And Buddy is like the best reflection of who we are, because he's a work in progress. He knows it is, and he really does a great job doing better and better in every day and every way, taking the peace and love of love's co-creation and making it stronger. And that is what the cadre is about. That's so say we all, right, buddy? So say we all. And give me a hint on who's. It's Todd, right? Todd. Hmm. So give me a hint. Be a little more specific at what I'm talking about this guy, and then I might be able to give you a definitive answer. But how you doing, buddy? How's New Zealand doing? So are you in winter going into summer, or which direction are you going there? And what's your experience of what's going on? New Zealand is a great, great, great country. The people are really great. And in a lot of ways, they're kind of this alter ego of Australia, but they're not. Because they're actually, let's see, so say we all. And it's a beautiful land. If you've ever seen Tolkien's Lord, what's his name? the little chunky guy who made Lord of the Ring movies. Most of it was shot in New Zealand. And all those amazing landscapes and waterfalls and mountain ranges and plains that the guys are riding their horses over, that's all New Zealand. Oh, God. So, yes, I think that's a good enough name for Tude. Tude is my new name for God. I usually call him, you know, the real creator that is the burning bush, from the Bible, right? And the burning bush called himself a work in progress. And he said to, and all our relations is the burning bush's reflection. So we're not done yet. Let's see. I'm excellent, and it is springtime under dictatorship. Yes. So buddy, how did New Zealand, a really free country, um, in a lot of ways when I was there, and I was only there for about 2 months back in 1977 with the Circus Oz, Punch Hawks and Circus Oz, and we were in Christchurch, and we put our show into a theater instead of our tent, and we rigged it with high wire, and we were having the people on the trapeze like fly right over the audience, and we rigged it in, and I was the head electrician, not the head rigger, because they had some really young kids who were inventing new ways of doing things. And that was what the Australians, the best thing about the Australians was they could never send out for spare parts, so they invented stuff. Like, if you ever watched Mad Max, the second movie, when things have already fallen apart, and they're trying to get the big gas tank to the other side of town, and the guy in the wheelchair, fixes, big diesel tractor for the big gas tank, like in 6 hours, right? And he rips the engine apart and puts it all back together. And they like he can't send out for parts. So that's the best thing about Australians. They really have a tinkering mind. That's why we had the Wildland missile range. All of our missiles that we built in California, we shipped them over there and tested them in Australia because no one could watch, like the Atlas of Genome. So, and they kind of tinkered with it until they made it work. So, um, but how did New Zealand go from being really free and open and almost, I mean, the way the Maori were really kind of, because of their makeup and how they treated Europeans, the Maori basically, they heard all about the Europeans from their brothers, the Aborigines, and other Polynesians. And so when the white people started showing up, they go out there in their big long boats, and all these girls would be bare breasted and, hey boys, and bringing fruit and stuff and booze. And they'd get on the boats, and they would, play with the boys, give them the food that was given, poisoned, and the booze was spiked. So within a few hours, all the guys would either die or fall asleep, and then they set the boats on fire. So for a good 20 years, this is what was happening to the English and the Dutch and the Portuguese boats. And they one day show up with big boats with big guns. And that's when the Maui went out there instead of with girls, the guys with all the tattoos, and the boats were like flaming. And they got themselves a French lawyer. And, one of the boats broke away from the gang and went up there, and the French lawyer said, listen, these guys don't want you here. And they will fight you to the last man. And they know that you got guns, but they're going to make it hard on you. It's going to cost a lot of money and a lot of death of your people. But they will sign a contract where they will be 51% of whatever government you set up, and they will accept that. And that's what they did. So the Maori families got, important in that structure. And when I was there, it was probably at the zenith of when everything was kind of working pretty good. And I had spent a year and something, months in Australia. So I compared Australia with New Zealand. I said, well, this is, Australia's always been a police state, but New Zealand was kind of all right. So, buddy, what happened? I know it, COVID, but who snuck in there? Because what's happened to New Zealand just doesn't happen overnight. What happened? You're looking so well, Bob. Yeah, slender. So I had to get my eyes operated on Tuesday, right? And no one could drive me there. And they operated on my eyes, and then I can't see for like a day. It's kind of hard to drive 60 miles back home. I used to go up to Virginia because I had friends I could stay with, and they would drive me there and then pick me up, and I'd sit on their couch until I could see. But there was nobody here. So there was, one guy who somebody talked into come and get me, right? And the guy is kind of like me. He has diabetes. He's like really heavy, da 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 da. But he is 53 years old. I am 72 years old. And I look like 20 years younger than he does. And he is, still 100 pounds overweight. And he lost one leg, right? And he's, and I can tell by the skin color and his pulse, I can see when you can see the carotid artery pumping in someone's leg, they're going to have a stroke any minute. So, so he came and got me and, drove me there. And we went through, and I have no money. And so he's got some money. And, we drove through the, place to get breakfast, I think Dunkin' Donuts, right? So I got a cup of coffee and just, basically, I ordered a, croissant, cheese, egg, sausage sandwich, and he thought he could, swing buying me breakfast, but he couldn't. And so I really have no money, man. So I'd buy him breakfast, right? And he bought donuts and coffee, right? And so he dropped me off, and he says, "I'm just going to ride around and go, see this and the other thing." And say, "Damn, no one would drive you." No, no one. What about? Well, I'm not in. No, John Boy would never do it. But I had other friends in Roanoke, but I wasn't in Roanoke. I found a doctor here, so I wouldn't have to drive the 200 miles to Roanoke. The place I drove to was only 40 miles away. And so this one guy, someone convinced him to come and get me. And I talked to him and I explained exactly how to get to my place and what roads not to go on, because I live, you come in one way, it's not a bad way to come in. Come in the other way, it's like the death road. And he came and he rode all around for an hour. And, and so he finally found me, and it came at the time I wanted. So if he had shown up when he first started looking for me, he would have gotten there. At 7:30, I was still asleep. He got there around 8:30, and I was getting my shoes on, and I heard him drive in. So. Well, the road trip with John Boy, it's John is happy being miserable. And that's, again, part of the motif of this show about, who are you, what are you, and you are the decider. John loves to be encapsulated by his, and this is, John is the, I keep calling him the canary in a social coal mine of the human race. Want to know what's going on in the psyche of the majority of the humans? You look at John Birmingham. Go watch his videos, right? And he's a good guy. He's kind, he's generous, but he's not. Meaning, he still is making a good buck out of all of the shows I did on his channel. The thing that most people watch, that he makes probably $500 to $1,000 a month, are my stories, right? his get less than mine, and he has something like 190 um, subscribers, 190,000 subscribers, because he started on YouTube when they started. So he's on the front end of the algorithm. He knows how to navigate. He's really sharp on computers. Does he help me? No. I'm sure he's doing stuff to keep people from watching me, but that's okay. It doesn't matter, because the people who get to see this are the people who need to see this and who get the most out of it. Yep, nothing has changed with John. Right? I call him up, and he still blames his parents. He still blames everyone for everything, and so does the guy who drove me to the eye doctor. So he drove there, and so I tell stories. I'm a griot, right? And what people don't realize is that by me doing that, I am watching them. I watch their body language, how they respond to the thing, and it goes in their head, and they can't. It's like a worm. It just kind of, and it's going after their neuroses and their psychoses and everything else, right? And as a shrink, people hate shrinks. They hardly tell them anything, and that's why it takes forever. Me, I would tell people stories, and then I read their palm and do their tarot cards and, do the runes, and they would get so enamored by that, when I shut up, they would then just, everything, anything, I would, and so I could deal with people's issues instead of taking 10 years. I could get them out, healthy, not healed, but healthy, so they could be the decider in like 5 or 6 visits. And I practiced, but I practiced under other people's, shingles. And the shrinks that I work for said, "Man, you are the best. You are better than me." Blah 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 blah. But you got to keep these people. I still want to build that swimming pool, and I want to have that sports car, and I have to send the kids to college. So we had to keep these people here at $100 an hour, and I was only getting paid like $8 an hour. But that was okay, because what I really did was I was working. This consortium of doctors was doing a lot of free bono stuff, right? And I did all I worked in prisons and hospitals, all of that. And I really wanted to do that work because I was studying certain things and I needed the environment. And when I was in prisons, working in prisons, what truly, and how I did it, I didn't say I was a shrink and I was going to, no, I had classes and I was teaching history and writing and getting their GEDs, right? And the smartest people I ever met were in jail. They knew what was going on, and they were reading, way reading. I mean, they were reading. I remember having my first American history class, and I said to these guys, "Okay, so what do you want to know? How do you want to study it? And what books are you reading?" And they were all reading things like Howard Zinn and Noam Chomsky and a ton of other amazing writers. And there's a ton of great books out there. Bell Hooks, they were reading. So they were living this. They were, totally connected to what was going on, and they basically, let's see. This would be a good name. Well, again, it's the experience, and why people set themselves up for misery is because you get this same kind of reaction in the blood chemistry in your brain. You get that little jolt, right? It's the same way. Why are people drug addicts? Because they get that little jolt in their head. Why are artists? They're driven. I mean, writing, reading, and so, buddy, have you been able to get to my publishing thing, my xratted.blogspot.com, or Griot Publishing, GRIOTTE Publishing at blogspot.com? Have you read any of my writings? So, I mean, why do I write? I get that little joke in my head, right? So, why does John? He has the same law. I want to kill myself because I'm so miserable because I'm not with my family and I'm not. Well, they left like 5 years ago. He's visited them like 4 times. It's so hard to get on an airplane and go there and see them. Really? I had a friend of mine who he was a musician. Musicians who are on the road who doing gigs all the time. He did that, and so he's always screwing around, right? So his wife, even though they loved each other and they had kids, and he was taking care of the family, when he was away, the cat would play. So she'd come back, he'd come back, and she could smell the perfume. You'd have a disease, So at a certain point, she said, "Screw this," and she came from France, and so she just picked up the kids, got on a plane, went back to her family, got a house. She had a pretty good career. She was doing that, right? And she just would not respond to him, period. So what did he do? Did he do what? Oh, they left me. Oh, so terrible. No. He basically, he had, some money in the bank. So he told his manager, hey, listen, I want to start, doing this in Europe, right? And so his manager got him gigs, and I said around France, and he spoke French, because of his wife, and so he started, and he would say old time folks. So he got all the old French songs and old Belgian songs, old German songs, and Swedish and Norwegian, and he moved to Europe, and he got himself an RV, not a house, and he would just travel around to all these gigs he got, and he, basically sang, and instead of staying in hotels, he just stayed in the RV, and he would schedule it so he would have 2 or 3 weeks, every month or two. And what he would do, the first time he did this, he went to the police department in that town, and the town fathers and everything, and he had all his divorce papers that said that he had the legal right to, to be um, seeing his kids. And his wife just took off to France, and now he's here to see him. And he says, I have an RV, and I want to park near their house, and I'm not going to go on their property, but I'm going to let the kids know that I'm there, and they can come see me because they're already kind of like 11 to 15. So the cop said, "Sure, I'm glad you came. Now there's no misunderstanding. We understand it." So she calls to try and get you arrested. We won't do it. We will inform her that you came in and showed us all the legal papers, and so they said there is a place, not right in front of her house, but a little further down where you could park. It's like, at the end of the cul-de-sac, there's nobody house, there's nobody this, no one can complain. We know you're going to be there. It's a legal parking spot. You can stay there as long as you want. And not only that, there's a little outlet on the telephone pole that we plug in Christmas decorations, and you can plug in there if you want to. And there is a drain that goes into the septic line, so if you wanted, you could put that in there. And by the way, there is a fire plug that has a hose cut on it because we use it to water the park. So right there, not a problem. And so the guy says, "So do I owe you any money?" I said, "No, no, no, you can just." And so he goes, "Listen, you guys are so, do you have a police benevolence fund?" And they said, "Sure." So he writes them a check and gives them that. And oh, geez, everything totally legal. Now they love this guy. And so he drives there, parks, and he waits for the kids to walk from school. And by the way, where he's parked, it was right where so he like put the awning down, put out the false grass, put a couple seats, and sat there, and the kids went, "Daddy, oh," right? And so, he said they right, and then they said, "Well, you've been here about 20 minutes. Go tell your mother that I'm here and that you want to visit me, and I won't come and bother her. And you just, it's only 2 houses down. I mean, she can look out the side window and see me." Anyway, so they do, and she comes, "What are you doing? I'm going to call the police." And he goes, "I Why don't you call the police? Go ahead, call the police. And so she did, and they told him, no, he's totally legal there. We gave him the permit. Everything's hunky dory. Tough noogies on you, but get used to it. And so the kids would stop and hang there, and he would take them around, and he'd be there. He wasn't there all the time. He was there like a week or two every 3 months. And after a year of that, his wife said, "Okay, this proves to me that you're a good father. You were even sending me money, even I ran away. Okay, I'm like getting over all that anger I had, and we can at least have a relationship so the kids can be normal and benefit from it." So he did, and they got better and better, and they never got remarried, but they became good friends, and he married again. And she liked it. It became a big extended family, and everyone got along, and they had a great time. Now that's what John Birmingham used to do, and I have suggested that to him a lot because he loves to be miserable. Period. That's it. You know, and misery is never a good name. Just because it gives you the same jolt as doing heroin, it's not a good thing. The thing to be, because it's the only thing that is real, is in love's co-creation, being in that connection, and that is what you are. You are the decider. You can decide to be happy or miserable. You know. And the guy who drove me the thing, you know, so he got donuts and coffee, and I got a sandwich, and I didn't even finish because I could smell the formaldehyde. I mean, the at the Duncan Larry place it was like poison, right? I couldn't, So that's why I'm thin, So I I've changed my diet. I mean, I've lost 240 pounds in the last 7 years, and that's why I'm alive. And that's why my joints, I didn't have to get my. So the guy who drove me, he's lost one leg and they want to take the other one. And the bureaucrat who's supposed to be keeping an eye on him is, called him up and he doesn't answer the phone. So I hit the phone button and there she was. And so goes, I know what to do. My whole problem is the amount of food I eat. I have to cut down and blah 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 blah. And then he hung up on it. Right? And so, eh, you know, so he takes me that thing, and I'm sitting at the thing, and I text him, hey, I'm in the waiting room because he was driving around doing whatever he wanted to do instead of just waiting. And so he and I enamored everyone in the place. I read everyone's palms and gave them the tap dance of my little entertaining self. Because that's what I do with the bureaucracy. Is that the people on the ground, I make them my friends. So because if I have a problem with the bureaucracy, instead of trying to deal with a bureaucrat, I deal with those people who I've entertained and made feel good every time they see me. And so they know how to bend and navigate the bureaucracy. And that's how I get being taken care of. Because the state I live, that I'm now in, none of the, America, we spend more money on, healthcare than like all of Europe put together. And our outcome, we are 38th on the list. I said the other day 35th. I looked up 38th. We're below Cuba. We're below um, Vietnam. We're below all these countries because they don't have the money we do. So they have to keep their people healthy. And so that's where they put their meager amount of money. And not us. We do everything to make people sick. So the big pharma and the big, because now all the hospitals that used to be nonprofit are owned by corporations that call themselves nonprofit, but I used to work for people like Goodwill, and there are a lot of entities like that. In Virginia, there are a ton. Um, TAP, Total Action Plan, had Homeless Action Team, Leaf, which is a food thing. So all of those guys, you look at their boards and the president and the top administration, like Goodwill guy in Roanoke, He takes home, I don't know, I mean, this is something 10 years ago, but 10 years ago, the guy who was running Goodwill, I don't know if he's even alive, he was taking home $2 million a year. And he had all his family working there, right? And they couldn't do anything. I went in there, I had written them a number of grants because that used to be one of my specialties. And when I got really sick and I had clamps on my leg and I was walking with a walker, and I kind of went in there and I said they have a training to employ people. I said okay. So I go in there, and the lady who is interviewing me, she is playing candy corn on her smartphone, right? And she just handed me this thing and said, "Fill this out." I said, I can't see it. I need glasses. So and I don't have them, so we had to do it together. So she was going through it, and she was doing it haphazardly. And when she got to education, she goes, "So, what's your education?" She said, "You finish high school?" I said, "Well, you know, I went to a Catholic seminary and I finished a theological thing, but I kind of bailed on it because it was so corrupt. And then I went to, really prestigious prep school, and I left that, and I got a total scholarship to Juilliard, and I did that. And then I went to Duke and studied parapsychology, and then through Duke I went to Chapel Hill, and I got I was doing a research project there, and a guy who was my boss said, you're running this whole thing and you need at least a master's degree, and people are asking about you. So he gave me a master's degree in social work because he was head of that department. He could just open the drawer, fill it out, sign the paper, and hand me the thing and put me on the roll. And so I got two PhDs the same way, right? And then I was in a number of other research programs where I was a postdoc. So I have my pedigree. I've got more degrees than a thermometer, and it's a waste of time. It's like because I was saying all this stuff, and she was, like this, and I still had somewhat of my paper trail with me. And she said, "What are you talking about?" And I kind of pulled out all of these degrees and just handed them to her. She was like, and then because she had no degree, so she felt inferior. But I'm looking like a homeless guy, right? And she goes, "Well, the only thing I can see you could do here is unload trucks." I said, "Excuse me, you know, I'm walking with a walker and I've got clamps on my legs and I'm about to. I don't think I could do your. You want my job? No, and she started screaming at me, right? And then her boss, because they're all in little cubicles, he comes down, the line of cubicles. "What's going on here?" And she looks at me, "Sir, do I have to call the police?" I said, "Why don't you? Matter of fact, why don't you call the chief? Why don't you call Bob? Or, Captain so and so, or Lieutenant so, because I worked for the police department. Everyone knew me. I was their guy to defray instead of the black community exploding. I would go in there and work with them to work with the police. And so I said, "Yeah, call the police. Go ahead. Go. Why don't you?" And by the way, Dorothy, and she was like, "How do you know me?" I said, "Because this is Al. I wrote the grant that gave you the job that got everyone here in their little cubicles." She goes, "What happened to you, Al?" And then she said, "You still have to leave. Get out." And that's the safety net. That's in America. And that's why. And the powers that shouldn't be, that are backed up by the hidden hand, they want civil war, just like they wanted civil war in the 1840s. And the same economic um, things that are going on now. They haven't changed. And that's why there's not going to be any end times anytime soon. So we just had, the whole West Coast is on fire, and even the Northwest, that was a rainforest, it's on fire. Why is that? Two reasons. One, people are playing with the weather. Two, the sun has changed and we are being hit with a different energy, and we are being forced we are already in the Aquarian age. right? Uh, Giving misery a good name. And being human, meaning being in this bag of water, is misery. Now, the only way you can experience your, you know, the human experience in a positive sense is by being generous, by being hospitable. That's why Islam is probably the at least within the dialect, you know, the basis of Islam is hospitality. I lived in the Middle East a long time, or visited it for extended periods of time, right? And every time I was there, the Islamic people were the nicest, generous, kindest, give me the shirt off your back kind of people. But so is the rest of humanity. That is the general attitude of when humans are in their best self, they do that. It's like, somebody threw something in my PayPal, which it still works. If you want to throw something in my PayPal, go to PayPal and they'll say, what email? Dude awake 42 at Gmail. It still works. And thank you for that one person who sent me some money that probably will be just. It always works out. I mean, right now I am waiting to get my car fixed, and that'll take every nickel I have. And that means I just got my Social Security check, and so you know I will live this whole month with just eating out of and my garden is kicking. And the thing that's kicking the most is string beans. So I've been eating a lot of string beans, right? Which is great. I love string beans. You can do them a lot of different ways. Best way for me, well, not for me, but my taste buds like, it's very garlicky, a lot of butter, and tomatoes. And my neighbor, she's got chicken tomatoes. My little tomatoes are like that big, they're not small tomatoes. They're supposed to be like that big. But this is my first year in that garden, so it'll take another year before my tomatoes get any better. Anyway, and I'm eating the stuff out of all of the herbs that are in the forest. I eat them all year long. So I'm not waiting for um, you know food, right? And I'm have electricity. The sun still shining. I have electricity. I got water. My toilet works. Yeah, but I don't have gas for my car, and I'm just spending every nickel to get the front end because it's rattling. So they're fixing it. There's about $3,000 worth of work that needs to be done to get it up to snuff, but they're fixing the thing so the wheels don't fall off and kill me. But I'm having to use $600. I barely have that, so that'll be I'll have to wait till October to get my Social Security check. So the guy who drove me there, right? So I had to buy him breakfast, and then he said they said that you would. And the only reason that he wanted to get out of the house and he wanted gas for his car. So the only real reason he um, you know got gas for the car was that I was going to put gas in his car. So he you know so he drops me off. He drives around and does whatever he has, and I text him. Oh, I'm in the waiting room. Oh, and they're calling me now, so I will probably be done in about an hour. So, and they take pictures of my eye, and they do all kinds of. It's a multi-stage thing before they do the procedure. And so as we were moving along, I'm probably be done in 50 minutes, right? Probably be done half an hour, right? And so, and I tried to call him too, and it would just go to his voicemail. So I texted him and left voicemails on my how I was doing, right? And then they had finished me, and I was sitting in the dark room, letting my eyes get, back to semi, not normal, but at least so I could see, shadows. And they give you 15, 20 minutes after they do a procedure to then check your eyes again to make sure you're not going to go blind because 1 in 1,000 people who have this procedure go blind. So anyway, so I'm waiting, and I'm very impressed by everybody. I said, okay, these guys are as good as the people back in Virginia. I don't have to go to Virginia. So um, let's see. But life is good, buddy. Yep, yep, you look good. Yep. And most of us do have a good side, and I play to everybody's good side. Not the worst side. I don't carry it. My neighbor carries a gun. He's ready to kill anybody. And all his stories are about how he shot this person or beat them up or broke their face or whatever, right? And I'm trying because he's actually he's a pretty good guy inside there, and I'm constantly working on to pull out his better self. So and he doesn't realize. So he's come from Florida, right? My new neighbor, and he's brought his kids and his wife, and that family. They are the spitting image of a family guy. He looks just like Peter, right? His wife looks just like Lois. She's hot, she's thin. He is like 120 pounds overweight. He's going to keel over, right? He can't even walk up the steps. Oh, there's Fountain City. Yes, yes, here I am. How we doing? Yep. Oh, it's ready already. I'm excited. Okay, I'll be there in 15, 20 minutes. Okay. Okay. Well, that's it. They fixed my car real fast, and that's good. So I'm going to have to say goodbye to you all. Buddy, it's great to see you. Um, I'll next Tuesday, I'll be back at this location because the other locations, I don't know how they did it, but when I go into them, they give me no more than 5 or 10 minutes on the internet until they close it down. This place hasn't figured out that I'm doing this here, so they haven't closed me down yet. So, and they have coffee here, so you know, it's all good. So, mm, uh, do, do. So before I go, anybody got anything to say? I don't have to run away. But tomorrow, Saturday, I'll try and do another show in the morning ish, and we'll see how long that place's Wi-Fi stays up. A real live family guy. I mean, his kids are just like the kids, except he's got two daughters, a son, and a dog. And Stewie, the guy, the sociopath, that's their little dog. And Brian, who is the dog who's sympathetic and well read, that is their younger son. He's a very interesting young kid. And then he's got two daughters. And one, his middle daughter, lumberjack, shirt, lesbian, straight up. But a nice person, right? Smart. And the oldest daughter, I don't even know if she's a human. She's what is they're calling fluid gender. She's like fluid species. But she's really smart, but she doesn't let anyone know it. And it's really, let's see, I'll be here for the next day if you have my word. Okay. So I'm going to try Saturday. I try Sunday. I try Monday. I try Tuesday. Especially if my car is fixed. So I don't have to worry about the wheels falling off. So that's it. What can I say? But I love you all. And let's do a little guided meditation. Conscious, aware, I am. Conscious, aware, I am. Conscious, aware, I am. Om. Conscious, aware, I am. Conscious, aware, I am. Om. So that's all you got to do. You say conscious, aware, I am. Conscious, aware, I am. say it 3 times, and then say, oh. Do that for 5 minutes. It'll put you in a whole nother mind space. Right? So that's where that is. And then there's also conscious intent. I am. Conscious intent. I am. Conscious intent. I am. Oh. And it is hilarious. So these people at the end of the cul-de-sac, I came there when I first met him. He's based up in a spacesuit and he's got a weed whacker and a leaf blower at the same time. He's making more noise. So my place was like an animal sanctuary. And all the noise he makes, he has chased all of the animals away, all the birds, and they still are on my side. He's got a whole mountain between me and him, so I don't really hear him. Sometimes, I mean, if he drives the end of his property and puts his speakers on loud, boom, boom, and he has a lawn mowing business. You see gigantic trailers, and our little road is a forest. It's not even a Forest Service road. It's just a foresty road, and it's big hill down. My little holler down here, and then a big hill up, and then he's on the other side. So he has to take these trails up, and he's already crushed both sides of the road. Now my wheelbase is only 4 feet, so the road used to be about 11 feet wide. Now it's about 9 feet wide, so that's fine by me. But not him. His tires are like, and I have a gigantic stone on one side of the road and a cliff that goes down 20 feet on the other. And I would say, if he keeps going up and down this thing, he is going to end up with the vehicle down the cliff. Right? And he to try and get over that, he found my big pad and he cleared it out. I mean, I'd let everything grow up over it, and he cleared it out. But then he got a bigger truck and he couldn't fit. So he cleared out this whole pad, which I was going, one day I'm going to have to clear this out. Well, he did, right? And he said, can I do this? And I said, no, I don't want you to do that. Can I do this? No. He kept bugging me, and I said, let me think about it. Then I went to Virginia to get my eyes operated, and I came back, and he had done it. But within two, and me, most people, I'm getting my lawyer, no. I just, and then after a while, I realized, well, that's a good thing. I was going to do that anyway, and I couldn't, so okay. So, and because he crushed both sides of the road, he realized, I need to build that up. So he's put gigantic stone all the way down, which has done a great job for, the water that can come down that road. So I was going to do it, for the last 18 years. Well, he destroyed the road, and then he put those stones, not because he felt bad that he destroyed the road, not because he wanted to make amends, no, because he couldn't drive his big truck on without doing that. So he keeps doing these amazing, and everyone around is like, we got to get rid of this guy. And I said, no, just be patient, and until he really does something really bad, you should just don't wait. You're not really getting bothered by it. He doesn't. I mean, he's, because I haven't given up on him, I keep doing this to him. And so he has changed a great deal in the last 4 months. And, but he still does these things. And this is not Florida. And there are no 8 million people here. Everyone, so the people talk smack about everybody, right? And so, the holler folk, who is this guy? What is going on? And, I said, he's just the family guy. That's what I call him, the family guy. So everyone's calling him Peter. I mean, that's kind of what makes me laugh about, I don't get upset about things. I just kind of put the little worms out, and things get either better or funnier. One or the other, better or funnier, right? So, and I worry about John also. I mean, he's been up there, and I call. I mean, that's why I keep calling him. But every time I try to reach, physically go there, he gets upset and freaks out and, screams and yells at me and basically threatens me physically. I mean, he's never hurt me, but he, the last time I was there, it was like, whoa, and then he threw me out. Well, I had someplace to go, so I did. And I went home, and that was a good 3 months ago. And then he apologizes. Well, as my second wife would say, saying you're sorry is a good start, but it's not good enough, right? And he does the same shit over and over and over and over and over and over. And it just hurts him. He's constantly saying, "Oh, I got to kill myself, got to kill myself, got to kill myself." Now, anyone who tells you that they're going to kill yourself probably aren't going to. But a good 20% of the suicides are people who were like that, who then started doing it to really get attention, and then they made a mistake and killed themselves. Took too many pills. Didn't leave the window open enough when they put the hose in the car. It's stuff like that. So yeah, I'm concerned, and I keep offering to take him on the road back to Texas. But once he realizes that I'm serious, and I keep saying, listen, John, if I do this, first I'm going to be there for a week or two, and work with you to look at, and he doesn't want to look at anything that represents what he has to face to make himself better. So that's it. And what better person than having privilege of Bob? Yep. And so, but most people understand that, but don't appreciate it. My next door neighbors, they are kind of, and the kids are really smart, and they kind of understand that instead of going to school, we should be hanging with Bob. And but they're scared. They really like, because man, I talk to them like grown-ups and tell them when it's just you know everyone's there, but they're like standing over here and I'm standing over next to them, and I said, so what about blah blah blah? And they're like, how do you know I was thinking about that? And I said, well, it's what it is. So it's all going to work out, guys. I mean, for sure. And but it's still up to us to decide, because if we don't, it's going to go on and on and on. And when I died the last time, I'd lived 10 years in desperate warrior hedonism. I was weighing almost 500 pounds. I mean, even sitting down, I look a lot thinner standing up, but I don't have a gigantic one of these. This is about it. And I weighed almost 500 pounds, so I don't have like, I know I see people who lose weight and like, especially under here, they have like, just these kind of things of skin that, just no. It took me 5 years to lose it, and I'm still losing like a pound a month. And that's what you should. I'm going to be my 180 weight when I was athletic god in high school and college. I played lacrosse. So I love you guys, and like I said, I'm going to try the next few days every morning to. So that, what time is it now, buddy, in your neck of the woods? Right now it's 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, USA. What time is it there? Is it late night, early morning? What time is it? But I would say tomorrow, Sunday, Monday, I will try and do a show sometime around this time, 10 a.m. Okay? Okay. I love you guys. You stay well. I love you, Cadre. Love you, buddy. Love you, Mutate. I think that's what your name is. So, again, thanks for everything, and I'll keep doing my part. Okay? So say we all. Come on.